I'll admit that bringing Meghan into the family was a mistake. The reported $50 million tied to the separation is concerning, and Harry has come back clearly worn down.
I've uncovered some shocking revelations about the British royal family that will leave you doubting everything you thought you knew. Imagine a king weighed down by decades of obligation, finally breaking his silence in a way that destroys the carefully maintained image of unity. What if I told you that King Charles, the man who has endured scandals and loss with stoic restraint, has initiated legal action against his own daughter-in-law? Not just any dispute, but allegations of blackmail that could tear apart the monarchy's fragile stability. This is not idle rumor from tabloid whispers. It is a courtroom battle unfolding in real time, driven by financial entanglements, emotional damage, and the deepest fractures within a family. Sources close to the palace reveal that tensions have been quietly building for years, ever since Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped back from royal duties in 2020. But now it has erupted into something truly unprecedented. King Charles, in a video statement released through official channels, delivered a bombshell that left the nation reeling. A dimly lit room in Windsor Castle, advisors clustered in tense discussion, and the king himself appearing more weary than regal as he faced the camera. His words cut through the moment like a blade. He admitted to a monumental error in welcoming Meghan into the family, referenced extreme financial demands tied to a potential separation, described Harry's return as that of a man broken and emotionally drained, and pledged to let the courts decide. This was not a press release. It was a declaration of war hidden in plain sight. Why now? What pushed a monarch known for his cautious approach into such a public reckoning? Insiders say it traces back to private negotiations that turned sour, where demands escalated into what the palace views as extortion. We are talking about millions, security arrangements, and titles at stake. The royal public relations machine is in overdrive trying to frame this as a necessary move for stability, but the public is not accepting it easily. Social media is ablaze with hashtags trending worldwide. Before diving into the leaked communications, the emotional toll on Harry, and the legal maneuvers that could change everything, brace yourself. This story is not just about one family. It is about power, betrayal, and the price of freedom. Palace insiders allege these demands were linked to non-disclosure agreements accompanied by subtle threats of explosive media revelations if conditions were not satisfied. One email excerpt states, "Resolution guarantees mutual silence, otherwise truths surface," while Meghan's legal team argues this reflects routine negotiation practices in high-net-worth divorces rather than blackmail. They reference royal precedents such as Diana's settlement and contend the lawsuit is retaliation for earlier criticism. Legal experts anticipate a prolonged legal fight, with discovery phases likely to expose highly sensitive documents. Harry's role remains central yet unclear, and as a possible witness, his exhaustion further complicates proceedings. Reports describe him traveling frequently between continents, attending legal preparation sessions in London while juggling co-parenting responsibilities. Friends claim he is urging mediation, but Charles's stance appears increasingly firm. Supporting testimony is expected from palace staff and advisors prepared to describe patterns they characterize as coercive, with one anonymous source recalling a tense Zoom call where demands intensified. Cross-Atlantic jurisdiction adds further complications, as California law prioritizes privacy while UK courts retain authority over royal matters. The broader consequences are significant, as a victory could establish precedents for celebrity-linked royals, while a loss might encourage further exposés. Financial reviews of Archwell showing shortfalls reinforce the palace's portrayal of desperation motivating the demands. As legal action approaches, security concerns intensify, with Meghan's insistence on UK protection during visits forming part of the disputed demands and echoing Harry's previous failed lawsuits. Charles's case frames this not as necessity, but as leverage, turning the dispute into a psychological as well as legal maze. Advised by elite barristers, Charles aims to protect his legacy, while Meghan, supported by high-profile Hollywood attorneys, fights to preserve her autonomy, leaving Harry caught between them as his visible exhaustion reflects the human toll of the conflict. The court will determine the outcome, but the verdict could permanently reshape royal relationships. Attention then turns to Prince Harry, the tragic figure at the center of the saga, whose recent UK visits have been cloaked in secrecy but portrayed through leaks as a man unraveling. Described by Charles as emotionally depleted, Harry reportedly arrived last month looking like a shadow of his former self, with sources citing jet lag layered over deeper fatigue caused by marital strain and constant public scrutiny. Officially, his return was for legal consultations and family obligations, though insiders claim he was quietly seeking reconciliation. Meetings with Charles were described as brief and tense, marked by guarded exchanges rather than affection, while attempts to confide in William reportedly reopened long-standing wounds. Friends say Harry is worn down by constantly playing mediator, and Meghan's absence has only deepened his isolation, fueling speculation of divorce amid reports of separate residences in a UK safe house and Montecito. His exhaustion reportedly shows physically through weight loss, insomnia, and reliance on wellness retreats, while palace narratives cast him as a victim drawn into escalating demands. Supporters counter that it is the family's emotional distance that is breaking him, noting intensified therapy sessions long associated with his struggles since Diana's death. Public appearances, from quiet pub outings to charity work with Centervale, reveal forced smiles that fail to conceal turmoil. Charles's public acknowledgement of Harry's condition struck a delicate balance between empathy and exposure, while financial considerations further entangle him, as inheritances provide some security, but shared ventures with Meghan complicate any separation. Alleged financial demands reportedly include Harry's share, tying him directly to the blackmail accusations and placing him under pressure to testify or mediate, with his visible exhaustion potentially influencing judicial perceptions. This chapter highlights the profound personal cost of the dispute, tracing Harry's evolution from rebellious prince to weary drifter constrained by monarchy expectations. The narrative then shifts to Meghan's camp, where the response has been fierce, strategic, and unyielding amid rising pressure. Cast as a villain through persistent palace leaks and tabloid attacks, she counters with coordinated public messaging, strategic alliances, and a reframed narrative that portrays the lawsuit as patriarchal intimidation aimed at silencing her voice. Her representatives categorically reject the blackmail claims, asserting the case is about control rather than justice, a stance echoed widely across social media. Behind the scenes, Meghan deploys experienced legal teams specializing in defamation and privacy law, preparing defenses grounded in free speech protections under both US and UK frameworks, while arguing the disputed demands were standard negotiations in a complex separation rather than threats. Compiled evidence reportedly includes supportive messages from Harry that suggest earlier mutual agreement, portraying negotiations derailed by outside interference. Financial scrutiny continues, though her team acknowledges Archwell's challenges while emphasizing new ventures that signal confidence and independence, including her lifestyle brand American Riviera Orchard and upcoming Netflix projects. The $50 million figure is framed as reasonable, with parallels drawn to historical royal settlements involving figures like Princess Diana and Sarah Ferguson, emphasizing long-term security for Archie and Lilibet amid ongoing safety concerns ranging from cyber threats to paparazzi harassment. Influential allies rally publicly, with figures such as Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry amplifying her position through podcasts, opinion pieces, and interviews highlighting personal boundaries under royal scrutiny. Online campaigns emphasize perceived racial undertones and double standards in palace responses to controversy, linking them to her treatment during her time in the UK. While speculation persists about future tell-all projects, restraint prevails to avoid escalating tensions as Meghan focuses on co-parenting, professional growth, and family stability in California. Recent public appearances at charity galas and casual outings project confidence and vitality, directly countering claims of discord and exhaustion. Meanwhile, palace countermeasures intensify through messaging that portrays Harry as a victim to elicit sympathy, Yet Meghan's resilience reframes each attack as an opportunity to assert agency. This confrontation extends beyond the courtroom into reputational warfare, with her multifaceted approach blending legal strategy and public empathy capable of forcing settlements or exposing entrenched hypocrisies within the monarchy. Sources suggest the Queen Consort's influence may be fueling much of the aggression, adding layers of gender dynamics and internal rivalries, while Meghan's struggle ultimately symbolizes broader societal shifts away from rigid royal tradition toward individual empowerment and self-determination. Media outlets depict Meghan as an opportunistic figure motivated by ambition and willing to exploit familial vulnerabilities for personal advantage, with this portrayal reinforced by whispers regarding her alleged demands, casting them as calculated maneuvers reminiscent of historical royal betrayals that afflicted previous generations. While on the opposing side, a loose coalition of Sussex supporters has emerged, including distant royals, former staff with lingering loyalties, and some Hollywood allies who have publicly expressed support, with figures like certain cousins and former advisors leaking counter-narratives through discreet channels, highlighting Harry's visible emotional exhaustion as evidence of the palace's relentless pressure, passionately advocating for family reconciliation over prolonged litigation and emphasizing the human toll of this divide, citing recent revelations where Harry has voiced concerns about internal plots against him, suggesting a paranoia fueled by years of perceived slights and media manipulations. Betrayals are accumulating like storm clouds, intensifying the atmosphere of distrust, with allegations of wiretaps on private conversations and hacked emails surfacing in preliminary court filings, escalating paranoia on both sides to fever pitch. And one particularly explosive disclosure involves a so-called sunset clause buried in prenuptial agreements intended to limit post-separation claims, now fiercely contested as a mechanism of control. While insiders whisper of even darker developments, such as claims that Meghan's actions mirror a final betrayal reminiscent of those that distressed Queen Elizabeth in her later years, with leaked diary entries hinting at profound royal disappointment. As the public media war rages unchecked, British tabloids aligning firmly with the palace and producing headlines amplifying the narrative of Sussex disloyalty, while global outlets from American networks to international blogs strive for balance, often featuring voices criticizing the patriarchal overreach of the suit, and viral moments heighten the drama, including Harry's cryptic interview excerpts hinting at deep regrets and feelings of betrayal over the royal family's interactions with figures like Trump, adding layers of political intrigue. International dynamics further complicate the scenario, with potential interventions from U.S. courts over jurisdictional disputes threatening to drag the case across the Atlantic, while financial investigations into offshore trusts and joint ventures uncover hidden assets, raising stakes and questions about transparency in royal affairs, echoing historical intrigues such as Edward VII's abdication crisis, but intensified by today's relentless social media scrutiny, accelerating fallout. And ultimately, these betrayals could either irreparably fracture the family or paradoxically forge uneasy truces born of sheer exhaustion, with implications looming large as a palace victory might silence critics but alienate global audiences, while defeat risks further exposes eroding trust, leaving Harry's recovery path, potential UK base for the children, Meghan's independent future or reconciliation, public sentiment, youth favouring the Sussexes, the monarchy's adaptability or decline. And Charles's legacy defined by this suit, decisive or divisive, all hanging in the balance, with lingering questions about whether this action constitutes protection or vendetta, inviting readers to consider whether it could ultimately heal or destroy, and encouraging engagement and subscription for ongoing updates as the royal saga continues with more twists ahead.